I have an almost complete Nintendo Amiibo collection. As of filming this video, I'm only missing 2 mainline Amiibo. The Box Boy Quibi Amiibo that was exclusive to Japan, and also the US exclusive Gold Mega Man that was released alongside the Mega Man 3DS Legacy Collection. Now, I am primarily an out-of-box collector, with the majority of my collection being out-of-box. But towards the end of my collection, there were just certain ranges that I couldn't bring myself to open. It all started with the Monster Hunter Rise line. I just couldn't bring myself to open those Amiibo, just with the history of the Monster Hunter Stories Amiibo, just their value just skyrocketing, mainly because they were Japan exclusives, but just because of their scarcity as well. Now, having both boxed and unboxed Amiibo, I definitely prefer them to be unboxed because there's a lot of design subtleties you don't get to really appreciate inside the box. While Amiibo boxes are very well designed, I find that there's subtleties in the rear of the Amiibos you don't really get to appreciate it when they're inside of the box, and to be able to fully rotate an Amiibo and appreciate its design from front, side and back, like, you really get to appreciate the attention to detail that really has gone into these figures. And what I found myself doing towards the end of my collection is, with the new releases, I'd pick up 2 copies, one to keep boxed and one to open. And the ones that I couldn't bring myself to open, I was lucky enough that they were still available, that I could grab extra copies. Or in the case of the Fire Emblem Amiibo, I was lucky enough that those series got reintroduced, so I could pick up extra copies so I could open my original copy. Another advantage of out-of-box collecting as well is that they take up significantly less space. I'm able to fit all of my Amiibo on my shelf, and while it is pretty stacked, would take up a hell of a lot less room than if I had them all boxed. I think I'd need my own room dedicated to Amiibo if I was to display all of them in box. So as I'm nearing the end of my Amiibo collection, I thought this would be a great opportunity to go through my collection and highlight 5 of my top favorite Amiibo. These aren't in any particular order, and I have hundreds of favorites Amiibo. I love each and every one of them in their own way, but these are my top 5 that I just have a special spot for in my collection. So my first pick in my top 5 Amiibo is the Cloud Final Fantasy VII Smash Amiibo. So there's a couple reasons for this. The first one is I'm a massive Final Fantasy VII fan. It is actually my favorite game of all time, and Cloud just so happens to be my favorite character also. Now, the reason that I actually picked up this figure and started getting into Amiibo collecting is because I wanted a figure of Cloud. Being in Australia, Final Fantasy merchandise isn't that common, especially Final Fantasy VII, and when he was releasing the Amiibo line, I just wanted to have that figure in my collection purely from a Final Fantasy fan perspective. I think it might have actually been fate that I was meant to pick up this figure, because I was in a department store here called Big W, and I was browsing in the game section for latest games, and just out of the corner of my eye, this figure of Cloud caught my attention, and I was instantly drawn over to it. And there were 2 things that caught my eye. 1, the fact that it was Cloud, and 2, that it was on clearance for $3.
The B is for bargain.
Now, alongside Cloud was also Donkey Kong and Kirby in the Smash line as well, with both of those being on sale for $3 also. So it's needless to say, for $3 each, there was no way I was passing these up, so I snatched up all 3 of them and took them home. And I'm so glad that I did. I love this Amiibo not only as a tribute to my favorite character of Final Fantasy VII, but also holds a special spot in my heart because it's where my Amiibo journey began. I often wonder if I would have gone down the Amiibo rabbit hole if I hadn't have picked up this figure. I probably would have got into Amiibo collecting down the line, but at the time I didn't actually own a Wii U or a 3DS, so they were very heavily marketed as integrated with Smash Bros, and because I didn't own those consoles at the time, I didn't really see the need to get them, other than that they were really cool looking gaming figures. But as I said, this one really holds a special spot in my heart because this is what sent me on my Amiibo journey. And not only that, is it's a fantastic looking Amiibo for a Cloud fan like me. Now, the next Amiibo on my list was a bit hard to single out as I really like the whole line, but it's the Splatoon 2 Inkling Kid. Now, while the more realistic looking Amiibo still look really good, I think that the more cartoony designed characters really translate well to Amiibo. The exaggerated features of the characters and also the color palette of Splatoon really lends itself to the Amiibo with the fluorescent colors. They really pop with these figures. Now, it is really hard to choose one because, like I said, I really enjoy the entire Splatoon Amiibo line, but the Inkling Boy really holds a special space for me because it was one of the ones I picked on my first ever trip to Japan. While game hunting in Akihabara, I was visiting one of the many department stores in Akihabara. I remember just being absolutely blown away by the selection of Amiibo in this store. The aisle was almost fully dedicated to Amiibo, with almost every one of the Smash Amiibo being available at the time. I actually regret a little bit that I didn't pick up more of the Amiibo that were available at the time. I ended up only picking up the Mega Man, or Rockman as he's known in Japan, the Bayonetta Player 1 variant, and also this Inkling Boy. So one of my favorite things about the Splatoon 2 line is that with the release of this, they got a lot more dynamic with the poses. With the Inkling Boy, he's like sliding with the ink slosh coming up near his shoes. He's also holding his ink blaster up near his face and sort of turning to the side. And when paired with the Inkling Girl Amiibo, it sort of creates a cool scene of like a Splatoon match that, as a big fan of the game, I really enjoy. Now, I have a very mixed relationship with the next Amiibo. The Amiibo is one of my favorite designs, but the character in the game actually gave me a lot of anxiety when I was playing it. And that is none other than the E.M.M.I from Metroid Dread.
Not sleeping with the lights on.
The Amiibo itself is incredibly well detailed, with its carbon fiber-like pattern on its neck, and also the jewel-like effect that they've done to its eye to really give that menacing red glow. The base of the Amiibo is also unlike any other Amiibo. Because of its wider pose, it features a big chunk of scenery from the game, which just adds to the overall size of the Amiibo. It is also in such a great looking dynamic pose where, reminiscent of the game, it's just reaching out to you, about to go to town on you. When paired with the matching Samus Amiibo, it creates a scene that I'm all too familiar with in Metroid Dread, where you're just fighting for your life against this E.M.M.I and just all logic and reason goes out the window. Next up is the iconic King Koopa himself, Bowser. Now, Bowser has a couple of different designs released in other ranges, but this is definitely my personal favorite of the bunch. Like the others in the Super Mario line, Bowser's size is quite larger compared to his Smash Bros variant. I really like the design of this one, as I feel it really leans into his personality. The spikes on his shell and his long claws are my favorite part of the Amiibo. Just with his bulkier size, they just make him look more menacing, which just adds to the character of Bowser. Now, the final one on my list is one of the most unique Amiibo available, and that is the Guardian Amiibo from Breath of the Wild. Now, in Amiibo standards, this one is quite larger than your standard Amiibo, which really fits in well with the Guardians, as they are quite a lot larger than Link and the Hylians in Breath of the Wild. I feel like they've done incredibly well with the design, with the indented patterns and the way it is mounted on the rocks. The unique feature about this Amiibo is each one of its legs is able to be adjusted and kept in place, which is just a feature that isn't available on any other Amiibo. I'm a bit biased because Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite Switch games and also one of my favorite games of all time, but this Amiibo is just incredibly well designed, and the uniqueness that's not available in any other Amiibo just makes it one of the best Amiibos out there. So there you have it, there are my top 5 favorite Amiibo. Did you see any of your favorites in there? Or what are your favorite Amiibo? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please feel free to like or subscribe to the channel, as it really helps a lot. Or you can check me out on my other socials. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.